بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
IIT Chennai chapter, doctors, healthcare providers, frontline workers, and other participants of this online program. I feel very much privileged to be part of this session today. In this 30 to 40 minutes, I'm going to talk on COVID-19 vaccines. What are the principles of the vaccine, the prospects, and challenges? So I would be taking you through a short introduction, different vaccine platforms, vaccines available in India, what are the challenges we are facing as on date, what are the variants, including the Omicron, which is creating a havoc, an unexpected havoc and responsible for the third wave, and the WHO vision for 2022, and what is COVAX, what is the recent guidelines by Government of India and travel guidelines issued by the state of Tamil Nadu. So let me start with a short introduction. 2 years back in December 2019, there was a cluster of pneumonia cases which was reported in Wuhan district of China. From there, the pandemic started. And after 1 month, in the 30th January 2020, the outbreak was declared a public health emergency of international concern by WHO Director General. On the same day, we had a 45-year-old male admitted in RGGH with travel history to Oman, who was confirmed as the first case in Tamil Nadu in the year 2020. Subsequently, as you all know, on 24th March 2020, Government of India brought down strict lockdown measures to curtail the spread of this pandemic. And less than 2 years now, again, we are in a similar state of partial pandemic. And in this few minutes, 30 minutes, I'll try to discuss how are we going to manage this situation without losing any hope, having faith in the Almighty. See, vaccines are magic bullets. We have vaccines for so many diseases, and the life expectancy has raised only thanks to vaccine. Any drug molecule, it would benefit, any discovery of a drug molecule, it benefits only a section of people. Whereas a discovery of vaccine, it helps the entire international community. When compared to other vaccines, which usually take years of development, they need to do a lot of research before coming out with vaccine. The development of COVID vaccine was remarkable. It had happened at an unprecedented, a short spell of time. That is less than a year the scientists took to develop the vaccine. What was the background of development of this vaccine is already a lot of researchers had been working for viral vector vaccine for Ebola and cancer vaccines. This paved the way for using these platforms to develop COVID-19 vaccines. An ideal vaccine target, to call a vaccine as an ideal vaccine, what all it needs to satisfy? So any vaccine given, it should induce high titer of antibodies. And these antibodies, the maximum should be the neutralizing type, which would remove the effect of the virus or the viral antigens. And the non-neutralizing antibodies should be minimal, because this non-neutralizing antibodies, which we see in case of dengue, sometimes they go in for antibody-dependent enhancement potential. However, we don't notice such a phenomena with regard to COVID. Then, apart from the humoral immunity or the antibody-mediated immunity, any vaccine has to induce T helper cell-based response. So we need to have more of T helper cell response and reduce T helper 2, that is increased CD4 activity and reduced CD8 activity. In addition to this, immunological memory, the cell should carry, once they are primed with the vaccine, they should carry immunological memory, both the T and the B lymphocytes, to attack the virus whenever it enters. The last, the vaccine should offer cross protection between the COVID variants. This is the vaccine device, that is the different approaches which had been used for developing, or different platforms which had been exploited by the scientists in development of the vaccine. The first one is, here we use the entire virus towards the manufacture of the vaccine. That is, the vaccine would be inactivated or it can be used as a live virus. Here, with regard to COVID, we are using inactivated virus. So that is one platform. Another one is the viral vector vaccine is also based on using the whole virus. Then we have the parts that trigger the immune system, what we call as the subunit vaccine. It is similar to the hepatitis B vaccine, where we use the hepatitis B surface antigen to induce immune response. These are called the subunit vaccines. Then we have the vaccines which use the genetic material, the RNA or DNA. Here it is most probably, most of the vaccines have used the RNA as the genetic material. Now, going through the vaccines, first we will see mRNA vaccine. These were, the mRNA platform was the first to be introduced, as you know. So here what was done is, what they did was, the mRNA which codes for the spike protein was artificially created in the lab, and it was introduced in a lipid nanoparticle. That is, like when a chocolate would melt. Similar here, the mRNA is similar to a chocolate. So to prevent it from melting, they introduced a lipid nanoparticle as a cassette or as a candy-like, and this was injected into the human cell. So once this mRNA vaccine enters the human cell, this mRNA would act as a blueprint to create spike protein. So as a response to the spike protein, the yellow ones are the antibodies which are generated in our body. So in case if you're infected with the COVID virus, these antibodies would come and neutralize the virus and stop the virus from replicating. So under the mRNA, we have two vaccines, that is Pfizer-BioNTech and the Moderna vaccine. Then comes the viral vector vaccine. Here what we do is, the spike protein, the gene coding for the spike protein is integrated into a harmless virus. Here what we have employed for COVID vaccine is adenovirus as a model. It is adenovirus of serotypes 25-6 have been used for this viral vector vaccine. One is the huge size of the huge size of the nucleic acid material, and another one, it is a harmless virus. Even if it causes infection, it would be a limiting infection. So they would integrate the gene coding for the spike protein with that of the adenovirus, and this would be given as the vaccine. So once it enters the cell, our body would produce the spike protein. As a response to the spike protein, antibodies would be generated, which play a role in immunity. So this is the Covishield, which has been manufactured by Serum Institute of India, of course, with the international collaborator AstraZeneca, with guidance from AstraZeneca. Then comes the whole cell inactivated vaccine, that is the Covaxin. We all can take pride in the manufacture of this vaccine. It is a totally 100% indigenous vaccine. Even the virus strain which was used for the preparation of vaccine was the one which was isolated in National Institute of Virology, Pune. At this juncture, I wish to say Dr. Priya Abraham, who is from our state, professor from Christian Medical College, Vellore. She is heading NIV, that is National Institute of Virology. She was the one behind the research on this, the COVID virus and the variants, all there. And they were kind enough to share it to Bharat Biotech. And they had utilized this virus, that is the virus strain, in manufacturing this inactivated vaccine, which is called as the Covaxin. So here we are using the whole cell. This is a whole cell platform. So the whole viral particle would be used, and this would be inactivated. The crucial part in the preparation of this vaccine is the inactivation process. Then they will add the adjuvant. This would be injected into the body, which would produce an immune response. An advantage of this vaccine is, here we are using the whole cell component, unlike the other vaccine platform where we are using only the spike protein. Then comes the protein subunit. As already said, this protein subunit, it is similar to our hepatitis B vaccine. So what we do is, the spike protein material would be removed, and this would be introduced into a bacteria or a yeast cell. So this would be stabilized, and only after stabilization and purification process, it would be introduced into the human body. So this spike protein, so what will happen? The yeast cell or the bacteria would express the spike protein against which our body would mount an immune response. So this slide would take you through the vaccines which are manufactured in India. As you know, we have Covishield, Covaxin, and Sputnik V. These are the 3 vaccines which are available. Other than this, we have Novavax. This is a subunit vaccine. And then Johnson & Johnson, Janssen vaccine. This is also viral vector vaccine. So we have 3 viral vector vaccines. That is, one is the Covishield, 2 is the Sputnik, and another one is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine available. However, what is manufactured in India is Covishield, Covaxin, and Sputnik. The other things, they are going to do it. So here you could see the international collaborator. For Covishield, it is AstraZeneca. For Sputnik, it is Gamaleya National Center from Moscow. And for Janssen, it is Johnson & Johnson. So in addition to those 5 vaccines, the government of India has given permission, or it has given an emergency authorization for 2 vaccines which are based on the subunit vaccine platform. These are called as the Covovax, and another one is the biological E company's Corbevax. Here, Covovax, this is going to be manufactured by Serum Institute of India. So at present, in addition, a license has been given to Cadila to manufacture the DNA vaccine. So with this, we have, India, our country has approved 8 vaccines, of which 5 are going to be developed in India. So as of date, our country can take pride in that it has given more than 1.4 billion doses. So though we have 8 vaccine license for use, the vaccines which are put into practical application, though the license has been granted from time to time, the last license was given in the year 2021, that is towards the end of December. What were the vaccines which were introduced in the early part of 2021 are Covishield, Covaxin, and little later Sputnik, which was developed by the Moscow. Of this, Covishield accounts for over 90% of the doses given in India. You all would be wondering, we all have taken the vaccine. In spite, why do we get the infection? Whether it is a reinfection or breakthrough infection, all that. There are so many factors which operate, which influence the, excuse me, the antibody response in the individual. So those are host factors, demographic factors, vaccine access factor, that is the timing of the doses, booster doses, then immune factors like and vaccine eliciting high antibody titer, and whether it is neutralizing antibody or non-neutralizing antibody. These are the factors. The green one, the shaded ones, which are in the green ones, are the positive factors which have an influence on the immune response. However, viral variants always remain a challenge. So what are the vaccine challenges which are faced now? One is, we are not aware what is the duration of protection of the vaccine. We had been conducting studies at Madras Medical College with regard to what is the protection afforded by the natural infection. We could find that the antibodies had a residual effect, or antibodies were there even till the end of 8 months. Of course, there was waning of antibody response, but there was not complete disappearance. Now we need more studies before we go in for the booster to work on what is the residual antibody which each one of us possess after 2 doses of vaccine. Then the other thing is the emergence of variant of concern. Then what is the vaccine performance or vaccine efficacy in reducing transmission of the disease? And what is the safety efficacy of children under 12 years of age? So as of now, WHO has not recommended any vaccine for children below the age of 12 years. This picture will show you like what are we trying to achieve by administering vaccine. So here you can see, so once an individual is exposed to SARS-CoV-2, an individual can be either he can be asymptomatic or he can become symptomatic. So after this, some of them, they might require hospital admission. Some might require intensive care admission, and sadly, very few of them succumb to infection. So earlier we were attempting to use the vaccines to prevent infection, prevent disease. But now with from time to time with our experience, what we have found to know is now the vaccines are employed to prevent inpatient admission and also to prevent mortality. So from the disease protection to, we have shifted to the severity of the disease and death. Yeah, someone is using the pen. I think it's making lines. I'm sorry. Now let us continue. Let me go about the Omicron. This Omicron, this is a WHO label. The naming was done. Initially, we were using a lot of nomenclatures which were confusing, and WHO came with the Greek alphabets. We had alpha, beta, gamma, delta, delta plus, and now we have the Omicron. This B11529, it has been designated like. What is the thing which differentiates this Omicron is, this is characterized by at least 30 amino acid substitutions. That is, so many mutations have taken place. Of these 30 amino acid substitutions, about 15 are found in the receptor binding domain. As you know, this receptor binding domain, which is in the spike protein, it plays a vital role in combining, in making the entry of the virus. That is, it is the one which binds with the ACE2 receptors in human cells. So what had happened is we were working on delta plus, and somehow the infections were coming down. We were happy with that. Even we were recording less than 100 cases in Chennai, all that. However, the situation changed. In November 24, 2021, they had reported this new variant of SARS-CoV-2 from Botswana, South Africa on November 14th. Then on November 26th, actually the cases were seen on November 14th, confirmation was done on November 24th. 2 days from confirmation of this case from South Africa, WHO had classified this variant B11529 as Omicron, and it as a variant of concern. And look at what had happened to India. Just less than a month, almost just 6 to 7 days, India reported first case from Karnataka of the Omicron variety on December 2nd, 2021. See, we should look into the time interval, how fast the viruses are spreading, like they do not require any passport, all that. This slide would show just a comparison between Delta and Omicron. We can never forget this Delta variant, which was really responsible for increased morbidity and mortality, like all of us would have gone through, most of us would have gone through, like. So this Delta, this variant was first identified in India. Actually, it was identified in the latter half of 2020 itself. But from April 2021, we started seeing more number of cases. What we had left, the opportunity, what we lost in that period, that is from December 2020 to 2021, was like we didn't take that interval to vaccinate the individuals. Like the vaccination drive was little happening in a lower frequency. Then we had this Delta and Delta plus. The problem with Delta was it was carrying, though the number of mutation when compared to Omicron are less, it was carrying a higher transmissibility and increased viral load. And there was, even the antibody treatments like Regeneron, which Trump took, that was found to be ineffective for Delta. Now coming to Omicron, as I said, there had been 30 mutations, of which 15 are seen in the RBD portion, that is the receptor binding domain of the spike protein. So what is the impact of this Omicron on diagnostics? There are various gene targets which we use for diagnosis of these COVID variants. One is the nucleocapsid, and another one is the envelope gene, another one is the S protein, and then the open reading frame. So commonly we use these three targets, either the N gene or E gene or the S gene. Like there are some kits where they have only the nucleocapsid gene and the envelope gene. So when it comes out as positive, then we can retest by a test like, that is TACPath. This is Thermo Fisher TACPath kit. It contains the S gene like. So it has got three targets. Most of the tests carry only 2 targets. This test kit has got 3 targets. So what we will see in this, here there are 3 targets. One is the S, another one is the nucleocapsid, another one is the envelope gene. So what we will have is, since this Omicron has undergone so much of mutations in the spike protein, we will have the S gene wouldn't be picked up. So we will have positive nucleocapsid gene and envelope gene. However, the S gene won't be picked up in this test. So that we take it as an indirect indicator, which we call it as S gene dropout or S gene target failure. So when we encounter a situation where the nucleocapsid and the envelope genes are picked up, but the S gene is dropped, or in otherwise, if it is not picked up, then we need to suspect it to as an Omicron variety, and the specimen has to be sent for genome sequencing for further confirmation. So we could see, like, from Delta plus, we have gone to Omicron. It is a reminder that SARS-CoV-2 is surviving the advantage of rapid mutation and can produce new variants faster. And also the spread is happening faster across the continents. So how are we going to limit this? So we need to have new therapeutics. I think a drug like molnupiravir has been introduced in December, but we need to be careful about prescription because of its teratogenicity, mutagenicity, though it has been approved by Drug Controller General. We have to be a little careful. Then the booster dose of the, excuse me, booster dose of the vaccine, what we need to use, whether we require another booster, and public health measures. Every country has to plan on this line. In a short term, so the best thing would be of all this, in addition to the preventive health measures, booster dose of the COVID vaccine is going to be one of the best protection against this Omicron type of disease. So what are the 2 tools which are handy to fight this Omicron? One is the vaccine, another one is the mask. So vaccines remain the best public health measure to protect people from COVID-19. So they would reduce the transmission and reduce the likelihood of variants emerging. And of course, vaccines might offer partial protection, complete protection. The protection might vary, but masks are all-time protective gadgets, like or protection gears. So they offer protection against all variants. They do not distinguish the variants. So in addition to the vaccine, we need to mask up. Now going to little introduction about what is WHO doing. In the beginning, there was a lot of criticism on WHO about the scientists working there. Like, they had taken a lot of time in declaring the pandemic. Like, sparing that, a lot of work has been going on in WHO. From time to time, they are identifying the variants, they are communicating that, and they notify the transmission potential. Lot of information is available in the websites of WHO with FAQs, all that. So what have been the primary goals of WHO in the active phase of the pandemic in the year 2020 was, one was mortality reduction, and another one was preventing the overwhelming of the health system. We all know what all we went through, like both in the first wave and the second wave. Second wave, it was the drastic impact on the health system, like we were working like robots almost. So WHO had made a conceptual goal framework. They had adopted the age descending prioritization. So when you recollect how the vaccination started, when the vaccines were available in the year 2021, first they started vaccinating healthcare providers. Then they started vaccinating older adults and high-risk groups. That is, older adults who are elder than 60 years of age group, above 60 years were included. Then we started including less than 60 years also. So you could see in this, so we have started from older adults and high-risk groups. From there, we are trying to cover all adults. Now the adolescents, that is 15 to 18 years of age. So the next aim, the last target would be to include children. However, though we have set up this goals, like, it all remains an unfinished agenda because of the inequitable distribution of vaccine. That is, vaccine access to the countries is not equitable. That is, there is inequity among the nations. Like, some of the nations could go in for 4 doses of the vaccine, whereas in of the low-income countries on the African continent, even the healthcare providers, doctors and other healthcare providers are yet to get first dose of the vaccine. This is the vaccine disparity what we are seeing. So taking into consideration, like for the year 2022, what to be done, WHO has created a strategic vision for 2022. So in 2021, we were trying to vaccinate all older adult and high-risk group population. But this is an unfinished agenda. Even by the end of 2021, we could not vaccinate this category to 100%. I mean, with 2 doses of vaccine. So what WHO has decided is to take forward this unfinished agenda of 2021 to 2022. So that is one category. Next category is to vaccinate all adults global vaccination goal with risk mitigation for 2022. While telling this, they have given the freedom for the individual countries to work on the, if required, they can use boosters and to involve the younger age groups, all that. They have given the freedom to adopt this policy guidelines at individual levels from the different countries. The third ambitious goal is with no regret all age groups. However, we need to attain A and B to move in for C. So the key point what I want to emphasize is, some of us would have got a natural COVID-19 infection. We should not see, I had been naturally infected, I do not require any booster. They would have taken the first dose of the vaccine. In between, before going in for the second dose, they would have been infected with COVID-19, that is natural infection. 1 month after natural infection, you are supposed to take the second dose of the vaccine. So if we are not taking, then we are 3 times more prone for getting reinfection or breakthrough infection like. So it is a combination, that is hybrid immunity, the combination of vaccine-induced immunity and a COVID-19 natural infection, which is going to give the hybrid immunity. So what I try to stress is people who have turned positive, do not hesitate to take the doses, whatever they need to take, of course, after a time gap of 30 days like. Now going to current Government of India guidelines. Initially, guidelines were framed in 2021. Now they have framed guidelines to be adopted for 2022. As you all know, on January 3rd, we started vaccinating 15 to 18 years of age group, that is children between 15 to 18 years. So along with them, we are going to include healthcare providers, frontline workers, 60 plus population with comorbidities. Of course, the dates our country has placed, for us, it is going to be on January 10th. For children, they have started on January 3rd. That is tomorrow, all doctors and frontline workers and also people with comorbidities can receive the vaccine. So the first target they have included is to include 15 to 18 years, and then all doctors, other healthcare providers, frontline workers, those who have received 2 doses. So there should be a 9-month interval after the second dose. They can take the vaccine on 10th January, that is starting from 10th January. So we'll have our booster dose like how it is given in other countries. In addition to the healthcare providers, they have also included a category that is all individuals aged 60 years and above with comorbidities who have received 2 doses of vaccine to be eligible for the booster dose. Earlier, they had told that we have to get a doctor's certificate for vaccination. Now they have removed this clause and directly you can walk in for the booster dose. This is applicable, the booster dose is applicable only for people who have taken 2 complete doses of the vaccine. Now, I'll just tell a few lines on COVAX. COVAX is nothing. This is COVID-19 vaccine global access, abbreviated as COVAX. You would be knowing there is a lot of disparity in vaccine distribution. Not all countries have the manufacturing capacity or the monitoring capacity or the equitable distribution of the vaccine. Hence, this global access program called the COVAX came into being So there had been a partnership between 4 groups. That is between Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovation called the CEPI. So all these 4 different partners, they have joined together to achieve the aim of equitable distribution of vaccine even to low-income countries. So these COVAX group had set up a target of collecting or setting up 2 billion doses from different donors. That is, this is like getting vaccine doses from the developed and the developing countries and redistributing to low income or underdeveloped countries. So the target that was set by COVAX in the year 2021 was 2 billion doses in order to vaccinate at least 20% of each country's population by the end of 2021. It was an ambitious goal which was set, but what have we really achieved? We are targeted as 20%, but only 8.5% of the people in low-income countries have received. Look, in the international, in the statistics, all that, so many doses have been administered per day. 58.2% of them has received at least 1 dose. All this is making news. But what worries is only 8.5% of the people in low-income countries have received at least 1 dose. Why I want to stress this? You could have seen the Omicron variant, from where it has emerged. It has emerged from Botswana, that is from South Africa, where they didn't have the access for vaccines. So unless we distribute the vaccine, unless a majority of the individuals are vaccinated throughout the world, we are not going to be safe. So without the vaccine, they are not protected. So we'll be having the transmission of the virus. The virus would be mutating and it would be transmitted across the continents because the world is a global village. So we are trapped in a pandemic, but we all know how to come out of it. What is the fastest way to end the pandemic? Is to ensure vaccines available to everyone and everywhere. So if these vaccines are not made available to the low income or the underdeveloped countries, the virus, as I said, the virus would continue to mutate, cross borders, and wreak havoc for everyone around the world. This slide I had taken from Our World in Data. This is an online published data. They keep updating date-wise. The researchers, this is contributed by researchers working in Oxford University. It was started by a socialist historian and epidemiologist to work. I mean, he collects the data from all the countries and he updates like, this is called as Our World in Data. It is an organization, independent organization working. They are working on a lot of things like poverty, disease burden, all that. Now they have taken up COVID-19 now. So you could see at the top of that, United Arab Emirates. See the total vaccinated, the dark green ones represent individuals who have been fully vaccinated, and the light green are the ones who had got the 1 dose of the vaccine. You could see, I think more than 90% of the people have been fully vaccinated, and at least 1 dose of the vaccine, 99% for United Arab Emirates. Our country comes in between, like India. You could see it is 63%. 63% of the population of our country, at least they have got 1 dose of the vaccine. However, it is less. It is 40 plus when it comes to 2 doses of the vaccine. After India comes the other countries like Indonesia, Bangladesh, Russia, Pakistan, and most of the countries. You could see at the bottom, you could see Nigeria, just having 1 dose. Only 5.1%. Imagine where is 99% and 5.1%. So this is the vaccine disparity or the vaccine inequity, which we need to ponder about, and all countries should commit themselves for access of this vaccine. So no one is safe from COVID-19 until everyone is safe. So this COVID-19 had made that, it has re-emphasized that all are equal on this planet Earth. And WHO Director General Tedros, he has also echoed asserting that the world must end vaccine inequity in order to end the pandemic. These are some of the infographics Of course, with regard to COVAX, our country is also committed in contributing to underdeveloped countries. They had been exporting the vaccine till April of 2021, and we had suddenly Delta and vaccine inadequacy was there in our own country. Now, again, from November onward, they have started exporting to Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, all that. So that is a welcome move as a part of our, contribution to COVAX. Now, going to WHO infographics, they have come out with, when you go to the website, there are a lot of infographics. WHO is trying its best to send the information about the COVID-19 vaccine, about its safety, all that. So all can take this vaccine because all the ingredients in COVID vaccines are safe. This is another infographic. The International Islamic Fiqh Academy has concluded that vaccination against COVID-19 is permissible according to Sharia law. That's they have found that none of the vaccine they contain animal products or components of animal origin in the final vaccine product. So even after you get the vaccine, you need to take preventive measures like wearing your mask, maintaining social distancing, cleaning the hands, covering cough or sneeze, for the reason we have a lot of variants, and not all variants would be neutralized by the antibodies what we possess, and the disease transmission is varying for the different variants which we are coming across. So even though we are vaccinated, we need to take protection. We need to take precautions to protect ourselves, our family and friends. So as I've already said, we are taking the vaccines in order to prevent hospital admissions and death, all that. So with regard to asymptomatic and symptomatic infection, we are still, the role of the vaccine is guarded, and that's why we need to follow all these precautionary measures. So getting vaccinated is a safer way for you to develop immunity against COVID-19 than getting infected and sick. However, with Omicron, what we have known is the infections are little mild, but it is going to, it is going to keep in check the outpatient services. We would have overcrowding of the outpatient services, so not more admissions are happening. We need to observe the patients before we discharge them. So what are the things to be, just to summarize, what are the things to be done as individuals to protect from this COVID-19 variants? So always remember, we need to maintain social distancing, at least 1 meter from others. Wear a well-fitted mask over your mouth, nose. Then we have to open windows and keep always indoor spaces well ventilated. We can avoid air conditioners. Then stay home if you feel unwell. And if required, we need to go for testing. Excuse me. Cough or sneeze into a bent elbow or tissue. Clean your hands frequently. Get vaccinated as soon as it is your turn. For example, we would be due for 28th of February or whatever it is. At least in 1 or 2 days, we need to report and get vaccinated. Let us not delay. What is the need of the day with having this Omicron everywhere spreading across the states? So we need COVID appropriate behavior. We need to be always, we should not let our guards down. So masking is very, very important. We have to comply with the Government of India guideline. That is everyone needs to follow their respective countries' guideline while taking the primary doses and booster doses. And as countries, we need to ensure vaccine equity for making it available. If you see this curve, there has been a slight dip in the vaccination towards end of December 2021. However, now it has started rising as we have started vaccinating 15 to 18 population. This curve I want to stress this is from the Government of India portal. This last 30 days, it reflects, that is updated till 7th January. So you could see the upward curve. We would be seeing in papers, we have achieved more than 1 billion doses of vaccination have been done in our country. So it means the total vaccination, that's what this German blue or the copper sulfate color curve it depicts. Then comes the next curve. This next curve, these are the total vaccination doses, the upward curve, which is, of course, it is higher. Then comes the second curve. It shows the first dose, that is people who have been administered with one dose of the vaccine. Whereas what I feel sorry is going in for the second dose, it is still less. Look at the curve, like the yellow curve is very down. So what we are aiming is this yellow curve should come up like both the yellow curve and the blue curve should merge. Then only we can ensure that all of us have been vaccinated with complete 2 doses of the vaccine, now going in for booster for selective target groups. These are some of the pictures from My Government portal. So India is not achieving impressive numbers compared to other nations. This is a myth. However, the fact is India is emerging as the leader in first dose administration. You could see 90% we have achieved with the first dose administration. But as I said, we need to attain this target with complete 2 doses. We have to become 90%. Then only we won't be giving this virus any chance for infecting the individuals or undergoing mutations, transmitting all that like. The next thing is all COVID vaccines are permitted for 15 to 17 years old beneficiaries. It is not so. Our government of India has permitted only the use of Covaxin as COVID-19 vaccine for this 15 to 17-year age group. This is the Omicron alert issued by Union Health Ministry. So they have advised isolation for at least 7 days from the date of becoming positive or a period of no fever for 3 successive days. Actually, CDC Atlanta, they have given an isolation as 5 days, but we have taken up an upper margin, that is 7 days has been declared by Government of India for home isolation. That is once you turn positive for Omicron. These pictures just to ensure how the mask to be worn, like how completely it has to cover our nose, our mouth, and also a part of chin like. And we need to develop a strong immunity like. That is having adequate sleep, taking plenty of fruits and vegetables, keeping our hands clean, and drinking adequate water, taking vitamin supplements if required, all that. In addition, the Omicron, we say it is a milder disease. But what I would say is we don't know what it is going to do for people with comorbidities or the elderly like. So we need to be very, very careful like. So to avoid hospital admissions or admission to ICU, we need to be little careful. So what we need to do is the non-communicable disease or the comorbidities like diabetes, hypertension, all that. So people who are on a long-term drugs or regular drugs, they should continue to take these drugs and they should have a tight glycemic control by doing HbA1c, all that, and regular antihypertensives to be taken, apart from practicing good sleep pattern and good food habits. These are the guidelines issued by Government of India. This would be applicable from 11th January 2022, like it was issued on 7th January 2022 in supersession of the earlier guidelines of 30th November 2021. In this, in addition to that is from non-risk, from the risk countries when they are traveling, we need to make a self-declaration. And in addition to that, we need to produce a negative PCR, RT-PCR report. Along with these 2 things, they have added another item, that is, we need to certify the authenticity of the report which we are giving. That is, we can't annex or we can't upload fake reports of negative RT-PCR. So we take the responsibility. That's the clause added in this new guidelines. So we are responsible. The individual who gives the, who uploads the negative RT-PCR report is responsible for the authenticity of the report also. So these guidelines, that is pre-boarding, at the time of arrival, all this it covers. So it is going to come into effect from 11th January 2022. So apart from the airport, the guidelines are applicable even for seaports and land ports. Only thing is we don't have online registration system for seaports and land ports. However, we need to submit self-declaration form to the concerned authorities. So with regard to airport and all that, children under 5 years of age or exempted from both pre and post arrival testing. So, no, however, if they are found symptomatic, that is, if they have any symptoms at the time of arrival, they would be tested and treated as per the standard operating procedure. These are the guidelines by Government of Tamil Nadu having COVID-19 Micron in mind. This is for the international and domestic passengers. So they have classified risk countries. The countries at risk include all European nations, South Africa, Brazil, Bangladesh, Botswana, UK, China, all that this has stayed from at risk nation, and RT-PCR negative report is mandatory. So apart from this, at the time of arrival, they need to give test. The samples would be sent for whole genome sequencing. Till then, they would be isolated. If they are negative, they must do home to. So at the time of arrival, even if they are negative, retesting would be done on 8th day. So this is what I was telling. All flyers must submit self-declaration form and negative COVID RT-PCR report before boarding. This all is for people who are traveling from at-risk countries. So for persons who are, or flyers who are commuting from non-risk countries, what they are going to do is 10% random sampling. What they have found is, it is not, we are finding cases with no travel history. That's why they have implemented that 10% of passengers arriving from arrival non-risk nations. Now, moved from risk countries to non-risk nations to community transmission is happening with Omicron. This is for domestic passengers. We'll have thermal screening, health profiling, and interstate travel, especially earlier they had told when Kerala was having a higher burden of the disease, people coming from Kerala to carry a negative RT-PCR report and a vaccination certificate, and they have introduced a portal for registration for interstate traveling. These are my references. As Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, there is no disease that what has God created except that He also has created its cure. As scientists, let us believe all these diseases also carry cure-like, and let us work on that. So thank you for your patient listening. I thank the organizers and especially Dr. Salahuddin for coordinating with me to be speaker for the day. I think the information what I have delivered would be useful. If you have any doubts, you can proceed. Thank you so much.